You know, there are many iconic guns throughout history. Some are instantly recognisable by non-gun people, none more so than this week's review. You know, I have a good friend and a neighbour who, along with his fellow brothers, has been responsible for keeping our lives safe and making sure we are able to live our lives without fear, and for that he and his brothers get my sincerest thanks. He has been on the receiving end of this week's gun and knows about it firsthand. When I showed him, he was somewhat shocked at the realism of this gun. What is it? It's the AK47. Hello and welcome to AAR On Air, and I bet that got your attention. And this gun, yes, today we have the Cybergun AK47 replica. And the first thing I'll say is this thing is very realistic, even close up. So from a distance will fool anyone, including the armed response officers of Her Majesty's police force, who would be left with a very difficult decision to make if they see you holding this thing. So please, please, please do not be tempted to wander around the streets with this to show your mates. When I picked this up from Drapers of Nottingham, I made sure it was boxed up and tucked away in the boot, not just lying around on the back seat of the car. I realise it sounds like a killjoy with warnings like that, but this is so realistic, and I don't want Joy being killed or anyone else for that matter. And a replica like this needs to be treated and used with great respect. Yes, it is that good a replica. Normally at this point I would do the whole history time thing. But most people know about this gun, and there is so much history around this, I could spend a week talking about it. I will simply tell you how it allegedly came about, with over 100 million plus being produced so far. Mikhail Kalashnikov began designing this weapon in 1941, whilst recuperating from his shoulder wound in hospital. He'd received it during the Battle of Bryansk. Kalashnikov was reported to have said, when he was in hospital, a soldier in the bed beside him asked, "Why do our soldiers only have one rifle for every 2 or 3 of our men, when the Germans have automatics?" So he set about designing an automatic weapon. He was a soldier and wanted to create a machine gun for a soldier. It was called the Automat Kalashnikova, the automatic weapon of Kalashnikov, AK, and it carried the date of its first manufacture, 1947. I don't think there is a single theatre of war that this hasn't appeared in since its production. Shall we take a closer look at this officially licensed replica? It is constructed pretty much as the original fixed stock version. Where it should be metal, it's metal. Where it should be folded metal, it's folded metal. Where it should be wood, it's wood. Not fake wood, not fancy laminated stock type stuff either, just plain basic wood. It is 89 centimetres in length and around 3.2 kilograms. The barrel is all metal, moving back to the wooden split forestock. Further back, the folded steel main body and that terrific cocking action, whose action is only arrested if the safety catch is in place. This same folded steel item moves the gun into single shot or fully automatic fire mode. But of course, this is the UK version and is only available in semi-automatic. The pistol grip is also simple wooden item with the trigger guard incorporating the magazine release catch made also of folded steel. The buttstock is again simple but real wood topped off with a metal butt pad. The only plastic on this item is the magazine cover because it incorporates a metal inner mechanism that houses the CO2 and the 4.5mm BBs. On a gun that is known for its ultimate reliability and ease of use, this is probably the gun's downside. Now it may just be this particular gun, but it does take a little effort and trial and error to get this magazine to slot into place easily. Once out, which is the easy part, you then need to remove the inner magazine. And that is going to cost you some fingernails, unless you use something other than your fingers to depress the steel button on the side. See what I mean? Slotting the CO2 into the mag is easy enough, with a built-in screw in the handle to make the process less fiddly than using a separate hex key. Loading the BBs is easy. Pull down on the spring and load up each one individually through the hole in the top. Approximately 18 rounds is your maximum on this, and from one 12 gram CO2 you should see around 40 shots. Once that's all done, slot it back into the plastic magazine and carefully, with practice and at an angle, there, load it back into the gun. Then the fun begins. The sights are open front and rear, and the rears are adjustable for elevation only, no windage. The overall feel of the gun is terrific. The weight, the cocking action and the very short safety catch. The trigger is very long and has a pull weight of 7.5 pounds because it's also the action for the BBs. Now I realise this is not a gun to talk about power. This is a replica, but I wouldn't be doing the review justice unless I do the whole thing. So, a quoted and claimed 1.9 joules max. Let's put it through the chronograph. Well, the nice surprise is, using the 5.37 grain steel BBs, I saw an average of 389 feet per second, giving 1.8 foot-pounds, or 2.45 joules. So it easily outperforms the claimed 1.9 joules figure, but not too powerful to do any real damage, and of course nowhere near powerful enough to try and dispatch any form of quarry. So please don't buy this thing thinking you can go hunting with it. Time to point it down the range and see what it does on accuracy. At this level of power, I thought 10 metres was enough of a range to get an idea of its capabilities. Nah, just kidding. Semi-automatic only. Let's have a look. Well, to my mind, that is more than accurate enough. It's not supposed to be a match target gun, and most of the time it'll be shot pulling that trigger as fast as possible to replicate fully automatic mode. And it's more likely to be pointing at tin cans or some old crockery rather than paper match targets. After all, that's what this gun is about, really. This is a very convincing replica, and as stated, should be used with respect and caution. The power, to be honest, is more than enough, and it's quite an accurate little thing too, as you've seen. I must admit, it would have benefited from a blowback type experience, but that would have greatly reduced the shot count per CO2. And as always, these guns are a little bit of a compromise. That said, the realism and feel is not compromised at all, and would make an immediate hit in any form of reenactment group or to any collector of historic guns. This really is amazing, and because it is so iconic, probably the most iconic gun ever, adding it to someone's collection is justified in my opinion. I've loved having it and using it. This is amazing, if not a little scary. Thanks for watching. See you next time.